Why do we have to put a title on it? That just complicates things. Why can't we just go with the flow? Or maybe you heard, I'm just not ready for a relationship right now. I'm just not ready for that kind of commitment. Can't we just enjoy each other? You may have heard excuses along those lines from your avoidant partner when you've tried to get them to commit to the relationship. And these excuses can go on for a long time. It's not just early in the relationship. They can still be refusing to commit a year or more into the relationship. And it's hard not to take it personally. What's wrong with me that I'm not worth committing to? You might be wondering that. But if you're a kind, loving, affectionate partner that consistently shows up for them, it's not a reflection of you, and it's not even a rejection of you. It is a rejection of themselves. The fear of commitment that avoidants have, especially dismissive avoidants, is actually a disguised fear of abandonment. That is why they will often find themselves in situationships, relationships where you're acting like a couple, but there's no title on it. They subconsciously associate that commitment label with abandonment. It goes back to their childhood. This is a person that experienced consistent childhood emotional neglect. Their parents or caretakers did not give them the love, the nurturing that they needed. Their feelings were routinely dismissed and rejected. The problem is they personalize that lack of love. They personalize that neglect. It caused them to grow up to feel unlovable and defective, like something's wrong with them. And they also learned if you rely on anybody for your emotional needs, you're going to get rejected, you're going to get abandoned. So emotional closeness feels unsafe to them. That's why they put up walls. The subconscious fear is if I let down my walls, my partner is going to figure out that I'm unlovable, that I'm defective. I'm going to get rejected and likely even abandoned. So emotional closeness really equals abandonment to them. So how does commitment equal abandonment? Well, it is implied through the commitment label that if you commit to somebody, if you put a title on it, that you need to be vulnerable with them, that you need to be emotionally available for them, that you can't have walls up if you're committed to somebody. Well, since being vulnerable and emotionally available equals abandonment in the mind of the avoidant, therefore commitment equals abandonment too. So, especially if they are with a partner that is emotionally available, loving, and consistent, there is a pressure on the avoidant to be available and vulnerable in return, especially if they commit to this person. That feels very unsafe, and it strikes anxiety in their heart. And they will come up with all sorts of different excuses as to why they don't need to commit. Because if they don't commit, if they keep it a situationship, they have an excuse to not truly be vulnerable. They get to have those walls up. They don't really have to open up to this person because they're not committed to them. Commitment equals abandonment. It feels unsafe. Sometimes they are consciously aware of this fear, but most of the time it lies in the subconscious of the avoidant, the unconscious mind. And due to a lack of self-reflection and a lack of self-awareness, they're often completely unaware of where these fears come from, and they often don't even know why. They just feel the urge to push off any commitment. All they know is that commitment makes them feel anxiety, and they don't want anything to do with it, and they push it away and avoid it, and don't reflect on it, just avoid, because that's what they've learned to do. They were never shown how to process emotions, so what they learned to do is stuff it and push things away and avoid it. Now, the caveat is there is a certain type of partner that they can commit to without fear. If they meet a partner that is emotionally unavailable, one that is walled off, could be another avoidant or perhaps even a person like a narcissist, that person won't trigger their fears because that partner is walled off, the avoidant is walled off. There's no threat of emotional intimacy in that relationship. They're both walled off from each other. They don't need to be vulnerable. There's no pressure. It feels safe. So a commitment label with an emotionally unavailable partner feels safe. Even a toxic partner. Yes, the toxicity might not be healthy, but there's no threat of intimacy. They don't have to be vulnerable. So that toxic relationship actually feels safe to them. Whereas the relationship with the emotionally available partner feels unsafe, especially commitment with that person, because the kind, loving partner is too good for them. That's what they believe, that this person is better than they deserve, and if they let down their walls, this person will figure it out. They don't have that fear with the emotionally unavailable partner because that person really isn't all that special, so there really isn't that profound fear of abandonment with this person. Plus, they get to be walled off with each other. So if you are in a relationship with an avoidant and it really is just a situationship and you're not getting commitment and it drags on and on and on, well, it might be time to consider holding a boundary. Boundaries are your limits of what you want, don't need, what you'll tolerate and not tolerate. If you're looking for a serious committed relationship and this person is not giving it to you, you might want to ask yourself, why are you allowing this? Because they're showing you through their actions as well as their words that committing to you and respecting your needs and wants is not a priority to them. There's a fundamental difference in values there. You're valuing the committed relationship, they are not. So you can assert that limit. I care about you, but a committed relationship is something that I'm working for. That is something that I'm looking for. If that doesn't work for you, if you're not looking for a committed relationship, then this situationship, our dynamic, it doesn't work for me. You can hold that boundary. You can do it in a kind and empathetic way. It doesn't have to be confrontational. And yes, you might lose the person, but you're losing a person that you never really had. Because if you really had them, if they were truly emotionally available to you, if they were really concerned about your wants, needs, and feelings, they would be committing to you. But due to their own fears, they're really only able to consider themselves, their own perceived wants, needs, and feelings and fears. So you'd be losing the one-way street where you're doing all the giving and they're doing all the taking. And then you'd be free to find somebody who is willing to emotionally invest in you the way that you are in them. Don't settle for a situationship if that's not what you want, because you're only hurting yourself.